you the word problems that you worked on in 11.2. So first you want to recall y equals ab to the x was the form that you wrote your equations in. Okay, so y equals ab to the x, where y is the future amount. It is your dependent variable, but basically in these types of problems, this is the future amount. So when I ask you how many people will there be in 10 years, your answer is the y value, the how many people. A was your starting amount. So this is where if I said there are currently 4,000 people living in some city, then 4,000 goes here for A. B is your changing rate. So if I said that the population of something is doubling, okay, remember doubling means timesing by 2, so B is 2. If I said that there are half as many people, then 1/2. Whatever that changing amount is your B value. And then X basically stands for your time. So when I say there are currently 5 people and they are doubling every year, how many people are there after 10 years? X is your independent variable, which in this case, and in most cases, it's your years or something related to time. Okay, so it's not always years, it could be months, it could be days, it could be time in a different sense. We'll see in a couple of examples things like in tournaments, the different rounds, that is still a time. The first round is the first time, the second round is the second time. Okay. So you want to just be able to fill these values in and then answer the question. You do want to make sure you're answering your question completely because sometimes it goes back and asks you a different question. So you might want to just make sure you're paying attention to that. So let's get into some examples. So we've got that bacteria can multiply at an alarming rate when each bacteria splits into 2 cells, thus doubling. If we start with only one bacteria, which can double every hour, how many bacteria will there be by the end of 1 day? So first of all, we want to make sure we know how many are we starting with and what is our changing rate. That can give you your original equation, which says y equals A is your starting amount, which for us, we start with 1, times B is your changing rate, which it says double, so which means 2, to the power of X. Then you can use your equation to answer the question, which says how many will there be, which this is your y value, by the end of 1 day, which there's your X value. But pay attention, it says 1 day, and here it says it's doubling every hour, so we can't put 1 here. We need to put how many hours are there, 24. So we're going to replace X with 24. So to get our answer, we do y equals 1 times 2 to the power of 24. And then calculator or Desmos gives you this really big number, 167777216. So 16,777,216 bacteria. And this is why you need to wash your hands. All right, next example. There are 128 basketball teams in a tournament. Each round, half of the teams are eliminated. How many teams are left after 4 rounds? So we want to make sure we know originally how many are we starting with and what is our changing rate. So y equals your starting amount times your changing rate, which is half. So you can either put the fraction 1/2 or the decimal 0.5, doesn't matter, to the power of X. There's your equation. Then we're going to answer the question, how many teams are left after 4 rounds? There is your X value. So y equals 128 times 0.5 to the 4th, and then you can go ahead and type it in your calculator. Please do so to make sure you get the same answer that I get. 128 times either 1/2, which if you do it in Desmos or in your calculator and you do a half, you probably want to put that 1/2 in parentheses. Either way, you should get 8 teams. Last one. If there are 3/4 the number of subscribers to a newspaper company each year, if there are currently 300 subscribers, how many will there be in 6 years? So there are 3/4 the number of subscribers, and there are currently 300. So our initial amount, our starting amount is 300 times 3/4 is 3/4 or 0.75, whichever you prefer, to the power of x. Then it asks us how many will there be in 6 years. There's your x value. So then once again, calculator or Desmos. So this is absolutely not something you can do in your head. This is the answer your calculator would give you, but here's a great example where this does not make sense for our answer. It says if there are currently 300 subscribers, how many will there be in 6 years? You can't have part of a subscriber. Subscriber is a person getting the newspaper. So your answer is 53 people.